Okay, so welcome to this masterclass on detecting spin. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Philip. I think I recognize most of you, if not all of you. So I'm going to try and divide this 35-40 minutes up into two major parts. The first part is going to be detecting spin on regular shots, meaning topspin, pushes, blocks, hits, things like that. And the second half we'll devote to serving. So before we really get started, let's try and take a few minutes to kind of go over the few principles in detecting spin regardless of whether it's serve or playing. One thing I notice that not many people do is you got to look at the point of contact before anything. Meaning, say someone's playing a forehand and they're going forward or whatever they're doing, you don't look at what they're doing at the end or at the beginning, you're only trying to pay attention to the moment of contact. That's where you notice what kind of spin they give and how much. Everything else before and after is either a gimmick or just preparation. From that, we can start with forehand. So, first thing, you have three basic spins. You have your regular hit, you have your topspin, you have your downspin. Now, say someone gives you a topspin, the ball's going to kick to you. That's the first thing you can do to kind of recognize that a topspin ball's been given to you. You see that the ball comes and it kind of bounces towards you. A regular ball, a straight ball, will just kind of come flat and continue going, no change, and a downspin ball will slow down. So that, off the beginning, you can kind of tell what kind of ball is coming to you. Furthermore, the angle of the racket's also a really big thing. If the angle is closed or if it's more or less perpendicular with the table, you know the ball is not going to come downspin. The moment the racket becomes open, you know the ball's coming downspin. So it's quite easy to actually detect spin while you're playing. The trick is more so detecting how much there is. And that you can look at the speed of the hand. So if I topspin here and I go slowly, even though the ball might have a bit of topspin, it's more or less a dead ball. And you guys should be able to see, based on the speed of the hand, how spinny the ball is going to come. It's a guess, but usually the guess is pretty good. If I go fast, however, then you know the ball is going to come spinny. And in that case, instead of treating that as you normally would, say, with a regular block, you need to bring your hand a bit higher. Your hand needs to be a bit more closed. You can't just take it as a regular ball. Same thing goes with backhand. If I'm here and the ball comes to me regularly, I can just put my hand here and put the ball back. The moment someone gives a little extra energy to the ball, I have to make my own adjustments so that I can put the ball back properly. Meaning, if someone gives me a super spinny ball, I'm not just going to take it in directly. Now I'm going to have to use my thumb to go on top of the ball. I might need to use my body. Little adjustments like that. Those are very important in adjusting to different spins. Furthermore, between forehand and backhand, most people when they topspin, push, anything, like to give a bit of side spin, either one way or the other. It's never really a pure topspin ball, so that's also something you got to recognize. Generally with forehand, people like to give the side spin ball like that. If that's, now that you know that's the case, you can expect that, and whatever forehand generally comes to you is going to curve a bit to your right. So adjust for that accordingly, hand there, and just treat it as a regular ball. Because once the ball curves and continues to go straight, it doesn't continue to curve around forever. So it's that initial curve you have to worry about, backhand or forehand, and after that you can just wait for the ball in a straight path. Same thing with backhand. The ball's going to curve this way in this instance, so you have to move a little more towards your left. And then after that, it's the exact same thing. The ball curves, you wait for it to go into a straight line, and you block it as you would any other ball. For downspin, especially when someone receives your serve, that can be a bit trickier. Say you decide to serve a downspin ball, and they receive it back really quickly. How can you possibly tell, is it no spin, side spin, downspin? Well, you have to look at the timing. If I serve a regular serve like that, and someone waits for the ball very long before they receive it, that ball's lost most of its spin. And just off of that, you can deduce that the ball's probably going to be no spin. If they come in for the receive very quickly, however, regardless of what you serve, even if you serve no spin, if you're playing against someone who knows how to receive well, even going in quickly for the ball on a no spin serve will generate downspin. So pay attention to that. And then obviously, as the last kind of receive, so say you're serving again, that would be a flip. That you know is a topspin ball. Again, you judge based on the speed of the wrist, how spinny that ball is going to come. It's not going to be, I mean, if you're playing against someone who uses their hand for a flip, chances are there's less spin. But if you're playing against someone who knows what they're doing and they use their wrist a lot, that's what you're going to look at to tell if there's a lot of spin or not. You're not going to look at really anything else. Forehand flip is different though. Forehand flip, you have a lot less room here. You can't go all the way down with your wrist like that every time. And so rarely does a forehand flip really have that much spin. So if you see someone trying to attack your serve with a forehand flip, you can almost take that to be a straight ball. There's very rarely any spin on it. In fact, if anything, there's sometimes even downspin on it. So I wouldn't treat that as a topspin ball. Other scenarios in the game where it's often hard to detect spin is a bit farther away from the table. Say you start getting into a counter looping rally, or someone's lobbing, someone's attacking. Because you have a lot more time here and the ball loses quite a bit of spin, it might seem easier. However, you do need to focus on a few things to not make any of those silly mistakes. One, you know that the ball here has lost most of its spin. You have to go for the ball. When you're close here, you can let the ball come to you, especially if the other person is topspinning. If the other person is topspinning, if you're far from the table back here, you cannot wait for the ball, you have to go towards it. The ball slows down too much, especially with newer balls. They lose their spin a lot easier. You have to be a bit more aggressive there. Same thing with backhand. However, also backhand, I understand that it's not easy to topspin back here. And so if someone keeps pressuring you there with a bunch of spin, or they're kind of playing around with you side spin, topspin, the main thing is to get out of that situation. You don't want to stay there behind too much with backhand. It's much easier to just change it somewhere else and not have to worry about that. As far as games are concerned, as far as rallies are concerned, I think that's more or less it. It's not too much. Like I said, the main thing there is to recognize what the opponent has done and react accordingly. And you can really eliminate most situations just by analyzing what you've done. So you know if you've served downspin, they can only receive in a certain number of ways. It's either going to come downspin to you or it's going to come as a nice little flip. It's not going to come super topspin, not off the beginning. So by using kind of your reasoning there, you can usually get the spin down to one spin, and then you really have to worry about is it side spin or not. The only case, which we're going to talk about now, where that becomes much tougher, is when someone's serving to you and you have to receive their serve. That is tricky. So once again, the first thing you want to do before and especially with serve, is only look at the point of contact. With the rally, it's not that easy to disguise the spin. However, with serves, I can serve this and then go up with my hand. And even though that might have been a downspin serve, it appeared topspin. So point of contact is the only thing you look for. After that, you look at where the ball hits on your side of the table. If the ball comes very, very, very short, the odds that it's a super spinny serve are next to none. It's extraordinarily difficult to put a bunch of energy into the ball and still give it short. So if the ball is going to be super spinny, chances are it's either going to bounce here or it's going to bounce out. So you know to be ready for that. If a serve, say, like that happens, where it's just at the edge and you're not sure if it's going to come out or not. Another thing you have to worry about with serving is side spin or the other side spin. Something else you don't have to really worry about in the rallies. Generally with rallies, only one kind of side spin comes and it's almost negligible. With this, however, side spin is a big part of the serve. So you have to see, is it going to be a reverse serve or is it going to be a regular pendulum serve? If it's a reverse serve, you have to see that, and up until probably here on the forehand, don't be shy to use your backhand. Just because that spin is very, very comfortable for that flip. Likewise, if someone serves you the pendulum serve, you want to try and take that with your forehand almost the entire table. If you take the backhand or the forehand on the opposite, so if someone serves a reverse serve and you take it with the forehand, or someone serves a pendulum and you take it with the backhand, not that you can't do it, but it becomes much more uncomfortable. It's much easier to just take it in with the spin that corresponds to the side, forehand, backhand, and not have to worry really about any other adjustments. After that, you also have short serves, long serves. Generally, long serves that are going to come to you aren't going to be that spinny. They could be, but for the most part, people focus on speed there. So just take the ball as you would any other regular straight ball, unless you see it curving, in which case, like I said, the exact same thing as any other side spin. You wait for the ball to turn, eventually starts going in a straight line, then you take it. Now, for serving, there is also one other thing. Say someone serves no spin. What makes it seem top spin or down spin or just anything else? That I often find, at least coaching people, to be one of the trickier things. What you do on that kind of ball is you have to judge the height, and that's actually something I didn't mention. The height of the serve is very important, and that's going to dictate what you do on that serve. If the ball is above the net, feel free to attack it regardless of what spin it is, provided you feel comfortable with that. If the ball is under the net, even if it's a no-spin serve, that becomes much, much trickier. You can try and flip it, yes, but you'll end up lifting the ball up for the opponent. If you're playing against someone who you feel is about your level, that's probably fine. But if you play against anyone a bit better and you start giving them kind of easier balls like that, they're probably going to feel really comfortable. So what you do on those kinds of serves where it's really, really low, you generally just try and tap it back short and low. That's all. And that's mainly the goal for serve receive in general. Everything here I'm telling you, it isn't, you don't do it with the intention to win the point. You do it with the intention to place the ball somewhere where you put yourself in an advantage for the next shot. That's also an important note. A lot of people, when they go for their serve, want to finish the point right away. That is, at least in my opinion, incorrect. What you want to do is you want to give the ball somewhere where the opponent is not, or jam it right into them to prepare yourself for the next ball. Because everyone here is capable of attacking at least a few balls. And going off the serve to finish the point more or less guarantees you lose the point right away. If you plan out your receive, the positioning, all that, I think, at least from what I notice, your chances of winning the point go up substantially. Another thing to worry about serve, look at the wrist motion. That is very, very important because unlike every other shot, if I topspin here with my forehand, it's mainly my forearm. My wrist might work a little, especially with my backhand, but all in all, this stays pretty static. Serve, that's not the case. The majority of the spin comes from the wrist. So watch that. Not only watch left or right, watch the speed, because that's what's going to tell you, is it a spinny serve or not. Another thing to worry about with serving is, and this is more so game applicable, what if someone hides the serve and now you can't really tell, you can't see the point of contact. Now that's illegal, however, for those of you who have played tournaments, you'll know that happens. If that's the case, now you have to judge it based on how it reacts when it hits their side of the table and how it reacts when it hits your side of the table. Say if I serve something like this, where I'm visibly hiding it, that's often really tough. But if you notice how the ball bounced not only here but there, the ball was kind of bouncing a bit higher and it didn't really stop. So you could tell that was really just a side spin serve. You have to use those kinds of cues to see what kind of spin it is. At that point it's impossible to do it visually. You have to look at it more so from the behavior of the ball. Another thing, since we're also on the topic, since I mentioned visual, you have to use your ears a bit in detecting spin. In fact, I don't know how I missed that. That's very important. When someone brushes the ball, you don't hear this. That's a straight hit, and you know there's no spin on that. And you can tell that right away, even if you didn't see the ball, just by the sound. Likewise, when you hear something like that, you know that's a spinny ball. And everything in between is something in between. So use that sound to judge how much spin there is as well. If it's a nice brush sound like that, you know there's plenty of spin. You're going to want to treat that as a spinny ball, knees down, hand up. If someone hits it to you like that and you hear that smack, treat it as a straight ball. However, if someone hits it hard, say like Mariana right there, it sometimes comes not only straight, but it'll drop on you as well. And to put that back on the table, it seems a little counterintuitive, but you have to lift up the ball almost when someone hits it really hard like that. Not because the ball has really any downspin, but because the ball is going straight so fast, you can't really react it on time. Just going forward isn't enough. So the auditory cues are also important. Visual, behavior. Apart from that, there really isn't anything else. The topic is fairly simple. The main things to focus on, like I said, are what you can hear, what you can see, and what you can judge based on the behavior of the ball. Those are the three things. And then obviously, some of the situations I talked about, say, starting topspins. So also, whenever the ball comes spinny, your first instant reaction should be knees down, hand up. And if the ball comes straight, your legs can actually go up a bit more. Hand still has to stay up. And if the ball comes down spin, so I'm going over the three types of spins, then your legs go all the way down. So now you're down here. Those are the three kind of ready positions for those three spins, whether it be forehand or backhand. I was using forehand as an example, but applies both ways. There's that. Is there any questions? I didn't think that.
Let's say I come in with my good buddy Peter.
Yes, sir. Exercises. Thank you.
Yeah, is there a routine?
Absolutely. Sorry, I forgot that. Exercises. So, there's actually quite a few exercises you can do to practice detection of spin, not only in the point, but also with serving. One exercise I personally like is serve short to someone's forehand. They'll push long half table to the forehand here. And the server will take turns looping the ball with different spins. This is something I used to do with my coaches often. You'll give one spinny ball, you'll give one dead ball, you'll give a long topspin, you'll give a short topspin, and that forces you to really look at the ball and adjust accordingly to every topspin. That's for forehand. Same thing with backhand. Now it's a bit harder with backhand, topspinning with different spins and different speeds every time. I get that, especially on a downspin serve. So if you want, you can use your forehand from here, and you can let the person blocking there with the backhand practice that. Another exercise is, and you can do this while you're warming up, in fact. This is really quite a basic exercise, just generally used to detect feeling. So you'll start playing forehand, forehand, forehand. You'll go back, you'll start topspinning, and then you'll chop one. And then they'll topspin, and then you'll come back here and block, 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 and they'll topspin. And then at one point they'll chop, and you'll topspin, and then you go back. And it's a back and forth like that. And what that does is, in one rally, you basically get to do everything. You get to chop, you get to topspin, and you get to block. So you get to deal with all sorts of spins, and you get to deal all sorts of spins. That's something the Swedish actually use in every single warm-up. So that's not coming from me. For a backhand, what you can do when we're not dealing with downspin balls is, say you're playing backhand with your partner, make it a half-table game and make it a competition to see who can make who miss first, and change up the spins every time. So I might play like this once, I might play like that once, I might play like that once, I might push the ball a little. All of these little variations force both me and my partner to look at not only what they're doing, not only think about what the opponent is doing, but also have to think about what I'm doing. Those three exercises, I think, are generally the ones that I was doing growing up, trying to practice this. There are others, especially say with serve. If you want to practice detecting spin on your serve, you can get someone to just serve you, say, a bunch of downspin balls in a row, and you practice that. Then they serve you topspin, then mix it up. Basically, what I'm trying to say there is a lot of people, when they practice serve receive, want to go immediately to just serve all serves and practice the receive. And sometimes that's fine, you need that. But if you're clearly struggling with, say, downspin serves, or people keep getting you with topspin serves, practice that spin first, then reintroduce other spins slowly so they can get more comfortable. I don't think it's really of any benefit to just go immediately to trying to receive all serves when you know that you have issues with one particular spin. If there's any questions, please.
How to respond to tomahawk serves?
tomahawk serve. So a tomahawk serve can be one of two spins. It's usually down spin, or sometimes it can be side spin, top spin. That you have to judge based on what the hand does at the last second. Does it go down or does it go forward? If it's a down spin ball like that, what you have to treat it as is basically a hook serve. So you can take it with your backhand if you want, if it's short enough, and if it's long, Raj, in your case, you want to top spin it as spinny as possible. Don't worry so much about hitting it hard. Don't even worry so much about the placement. In fact, if someone's giving you a tomahawk serve, they're giving a bunch of spin on the ball, and in you giving a bunch of spin on the ball too, the ball comes back to them just as weirdly. So no matter where you really give the ball, unless it's high, it's a pretty effective receive. As for the topspin ball, you got to treat that as someone who serves you any other regular topspin ball. Your hand will be up, and you'll just try and redirect the ball somewhere where the opponent is not. That's what I try and do with tomahawk serves. Any other questions? Fast serves. Sorry? Generally, it's a bit harder to see the spin, yes, because the serve comes at you very quickly. Know that with fast serves, it's almost impossible, especially if the serve comes super fast. It's almost impossible for the serve to have a bunch of downspin on the ball. Generally, it's going to be a push serve, topspin, or side spin. So that off the beginning, you can kind of base your judgment off of the fact that you know it's not going to be super downspin. So now when your hand is here, and you know that, say he's serving to me here, and I know that it's coming here, I just don't know the spin. All I have to really judge now is whether the serve is going to curve or not. If the serve curves, I know it's side spin, and then I move. If the serve doesn't curve, chances are it's a push serve, and just brushing the ball as fast as you can. Not hitting the ball, brushing. That's a big difference. Hitting the ball will make the ball go very, very hard, very, very fast. Brushing the ball very quickly might bring the ball back fast, but that's not the point. The point is to give a bunch of spin to it, because you're not really sure what kind of spin is coming. And even for myself, generally, I don't even think about that too much. For short serves, I think about what kind of spin is coming, but any longer serve here, I generally just let my hand go, and that works, because I know no heavy downspin serve is coming. So whatever I do with my hand, it's enough to lift the ball above the net.
So at your level, Filip, what percentage of the serves are short versus long?
I would say probably about 90% short, maybe 10% long. However, that is changing, especially with the fact that over the past few years, they've introduced the plastic ball. People are starting to serve a bit longer because it's getting harder and harder to serve short with a bunch of spin. However, it's still the case today that 85 to 90% of the serves are short, just because any longer serve against someone a bit better is instantly going to let them attack it, and then you're left there blocking every ball, and ideally that's not something you want.
Just to follow up with that, on the short serve return, majority of the time you're looking at short push back.
That depends. That depends what kind of player you are. Me, myself, personally, I usually look to push it back short, yes. Because I feel that my short game isn't bad, and I can put a decent amount of pressure on my opponent with that. However, I know plenty of people who instantly go for the flip first because they feel a little less comfortable with their short. They feel very comfortable with their flip, and they know that no matter what comes short, they can flip it every time. So it's a question of how comfortable are you with your short game and how comfortable are you with flipping. If you're super comfortable with flipping, I would recommend that, because playing short constantly generally results in bad things, especially after 3-4 balls. Playing short, the ball loses its spin to the point where you guys are eventually kind of just tapping it back and forth. Flipping it gets the game started immediately. However, I do also understand that flipping balls, especially that are low short, are not easy. So you do have to make the proper judgment. You can't just go for the flip blindly. Again, you have to look at the height. If the height of the ball is above the net, flip if you feel good. If it's below the net, in almost all cases, you're going to be pushing back short. Absolutely. So that's also, I mean, I don't know how many of you are planning on changing rubbers or thinking, but generally, Chinese rubbers, so very hard rubbers, can produce a lot of spin, whether that be for topspin or even for serve and receive. Any harder rubber like that generally produces a lot of spin. Softer rubbers also produce a lot of spin. However, there's also a lot more spring to them. So any spin that I give you is gonna appear to come to you a lot quicker than, say, a Chinese rubber, unless they're hitting hard, of course. So yes, it does matter. Generally, harder rubbers, you can hit harder, and if it's a Chinese rubber, give more spin. Softer rubbers are better for playing, back and forth rallies, but usually, not that they give less spin. Most rubbers give quite a bit of spin. It's just that they don't give as much as those harder rubbers, in my experience.
Can you talk about when the ball is spinning?
When the ball is
When the ball is spinning, can you talk about the sweet spots that there's actually no spin on the axis?
I've never thought about that personally. What I can talk about the ball spinning, however, and detecting spin is it's important to look at this, the actual logo. I know that seems very strange perhaps, but detecting spin, you often have to look at the actual color. If you see someone did a shot and there's no spin, and there's plenty of spin on the ball, generally you're not going to see any logo. It's going to be completely white. If someone gives you something a lot more dead though, and it's something like that, you're clearly going to see that logo. And once you can see that logo, you know that that ball does not have spin, and you can do what you want on it.
Are you paying attention when the server contacts the ball, where that ball contacts the racket?
Yes, actually. Thank you for bringing that up. That's also important, provided you can see the point of contact. Generally, on the racket, and this in fact goes for the rally as well, when you look at the racket, you generally get the most spin and energy at the edge of the racket, and you get the most control towards the middle here. When someone serves, if you want, and this goes for serving for you guys as well, not just receiving, if you want to serve a short ball easily, aim for that part of the racket there. Plenty of control, but you're not going to give a lot of spin. If you hit the ball at the edge there, you're going to give plenty of spin, but there's going to be a lot less control. And you can use that in trying to detect what the opponent has done as well. If you see that the ball is hit over there, regardless of what they've done, whether it be topspin, serve, other than block, there's going to be plenty of spin, or the ball's going to come very fast. That's where most of the energy is concentrated. If they hit the ball over here, know that the ball's probably going to come short if they're serving, but there's going to be no spin. And likewise, if someone topspins here with forehand or backhand and it hits right in the middle there, there's going to be very little spin. They might have plenty of control. They might be able to move you around positioning with their positioning quite nicely, but the ball is not going to come fast and it's not going to come spinning. If there's any other questions, please.
When you're hitting if you serve without side spin, so you go from there and serve this way.
Yes.
Is there a way to go? Should we go this way to return the ball? Obviously, the ball wants to go that way, right? Or do you try?
So this you want to receive with backhand, huh?
Well, let's see.
If you're serving this, if someone's serving this, ideally you want to go with your forehand because that kind of spin it's the most comfortable for your forehand.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. So if I serve this and it curves that way, it's the easiest to receive it with your forehand.
Except for a right-handed person, that's the opposite side of the table.
This doesn't apply to you actually. If you're a lefty, it's the exact opposite. So say if someone serves a serve that curves like this, for me it would be easy to go with my forehand. For a lefty, it would be easy to go with their backhand. So everything I'm telling you, if you're a lefty, it's reversed. So now, if you want to take that serve with your backhand, you can. However, it is a lot tougher. But what you have to do is just treat it as any other short ball. And like I said, once the ball turns, you wait for it, and it keeps going in a straight line, then you can take it like a regular flip, at least in most cases. If it's something really extreme where the ball drops or something, then just push it.
Suggesting that a ball that's curving a lot coming towards you on the serve, you should wait for it.
A little bit, yes.
Stop spinning.
A little bit, yes. Especially if you're not sure of the spin, give it an extra half second. Let it lose a bit more spin. It gives you an extra half second to look at the ball, as opposed to rushing into it right away, not knowing what you're getting yourself into.
So would that apply to the server? Like the server is lefty, like this defend. So it goes opposite for us, goes right hand.
So what do you mean?
Like a say the server.
So if a lefty is serving all of
Yes.
this. So if a lefty is serving all of this, it's reversed. So if a lefty is serving the pendulum serve,
Yes.
it's easiest to go with your backhand. If a righty serves the pendulum serve, it's easy to go with your forehand. If a lefty serves this reverse serve, it's easy to go with your forehand. And if a righty serves this reverse serve, it's much easier to go with your backhand. This.
I guess I don't understand. When you said pendulum serve for a right, so you're on that side of the table.
I'm on this side of the table.
And you're serving
I'm serving this kind of spin.
going to the left side of the receivers.
Going to the left side of the receivers, that is correct.
Now, how's he hitting a forehand from the left side of the table?
Well, say you wait for generally you want to wait for your serve somewhere here. The edge of the table here, lining up with your left leg. If someone serves that kind of serve and it curves like this here, you can easily just put your right leg in and go for the short ball.
Okay.
Or you can move a little and start it. Now you are right, it does require more movement on your part. And getting back after that is oftentimes an issue, especially say if you come here with your forehand and they decide to block your forehand. So you have to be careful of that. Generally, I draw the line somewhere half table in the backhand side as to where you should use your backhand, where you should use your forehand. If the serve comes anywhere here, me personally, I'm comfortable using my forehand here, and that's what I do. Anything that comes here, I use my backhand. Try and find that kind of space for yourself as well. It's different for everyone depending on how well you move, how comfortable you are with your forehand and your backhand. But generally, you want about 2/3 of the table to be played with forehand and about 1/3 with backhand.
So when you're receiving a serve, then there is a preferred position that you're standing at every
Yes.
time. And it's, as a righty,
If
it's
the,
on the left
as a righty, if you are playing against the righty and the righty is serving from there, you wait in the position I just said. However, if you're playing a lefty, for example, and they're serving from there, you don't wait over here. You move towards the middle a little because the lefty now has this open space right here. So it kind of.
You have to stand in the middle to receive serve so that you could react the same, regardless of which side it came on that show.
If you find yourself playing an equal amount of forehands and backhands, then yes, you can move a little more towards the middle. I agree. But if we take the past thing I said, the 2/3 forehand, the 1/3 backhand, if you want to play that way, then it's more advantageous to stay here. So you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, how much do I play forehand, how much do I play backhand? And how comfortable do I feel with both? If I like both, then you can stay a little more in the middle, that's absolutely fine. If you feel that you win most of your points with your forehand, a little more towards the backhand. And I don't know too many people, maybe apart from Eric Marshall, that plays with his backhand everywhere.
What's your experience with pip players serving with the pip side of the paddle?
Serving with the pip side of the paddle. Generally, I find that it's almost no spin every time. That you don't, with pips actually, we can talk about that a bit. That's pretty important too. When anyone with pips ever serves to you, unless they have short pips, in which case they can give some spin, if it's medium pips or long pips and they're serving to you with the pip side, it's almost in all cases almost no spin. You can just kind of brush the ball forward and continue on playing. Now, whenever you play anyone with short pips, generally the ball comes a little pushed to you, and that can feel quite nasty. That thing, when that happens, just as I said, on a straight ball, you don't have to really go up as much as you would on a downspin ball, but you need to go up and down a little more with your legs to lift the ball up. Now, if you give a topspin ball to someone with long pips, I think most of you know the ball is going to come back reverse. It's going to come back downspin. If you give downspin to someone with long pips, it's going to come no spin. So that's really the only thing you need to focus on with pips. Especially earlier on, it seems pips players can be quite difficult to play, but once you understand that whatever spin you give them, you get back the opposite, they become pretty easy to play against. So I would just keep that one thing in mind. And then on their serves, obviously, if they're serving with their pip side, no spin.
When you're hitting a side spin serve at the pendulum, where are you trying to get the ball to contact the racket when the ball first contacts?
So that depends. Do you want a short serve, long serve, spinny, not spinny? If you want a spinny serve and you're not that focused on the length, you'd want it more so at the edge of the racket somewhere here. In fact, if you could divide the racket into 4 quarters, you'd want it in that quarter right there. If you want a shorter serve with more control but less spin, then you'd want it somewhere up here. So, and that goes for any serve. Like I said, you want more spin, hit it at the edge of the racket anywhere in that half. If you want more control but less spin, try and hit it closer to the handle.
And that's all just because the arc being defined is...
Well, when you think about it, if you want to trace an arc, the arc that this is going to trace is going to be much greater than the arc that there is going to trace. Any more questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay. If you guys want, there's plenty of tables. I think we're going to put the rest of them up. And we can practice some of the exercises that I mentioned. If you guys have any other questions for anything as well, I'm going to be around. Please do not hesitate to approach me. Thank you.